All right, listeners. So today we are diving deep into power dynamics.
Ooh, fascinating.
You've given us an amazing set of sources to work with.
I was really impressed.
Yeah, biographies of really powerful people.
Yeah,
Alexander the Great.
of course.
We've got some philosophy in there.
Love it.
And even some fables.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
like Aesop's fables.
I'm intrigued.
So we're really going to try to distill the essence of power
Okay.
and look for tactics that you can use in your own life.
I like it.
That's the goal.
Right.
And one thing that I noticed just skimming through these sources is how many of these powerful people,
Right.
from monarchs like Louis XIV
Right.
to even con artists,
Okay.
they all kind of take this bold and theatrical approach to power.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, just as you were saying that, I was thinking about how so much of power really is a performance.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, look at me, I'm in control.
Exactly.
So like Alexander the Great,
Okay.
he wasn't content just to follow in his father's footsteps.
Right.
He had to make a statement.
He did.
Yeah,
Big time.
and he did.
He did, with that whole Gordian knot thing.
Oh, yeah. That's a great example. That wasn't just about solving some puzzle. It was a
Okay.
declaration. I make my own rules. I'm not bound by the past.
But like a ground zero,
Yeah,
like wiping the slate clean,
totally.
it's a fresh start.
Yeah, it's distancing yourself from your predecessors,
Right.
even from their successes, to really create your own path.
Yeah, and to project an image of leadership.
Absolutely.
And we see this with Louis XIV too.
Oh, yeah.
Like when he rejects the Louvre
Yeah.
and builds Versailles.
That's such an amazing statement.
Yeah, it's like out with the old, in with the new.
Exactly. They both understood the power of symbolism
Yeah.
to shape perception and to solidify their authority.
I mean, it's not even just about the buildings themselves.
Right.
It's also like Philip II of Spain building his palace El Escorial
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
It's true.
Like, I am the center of the world.
You're right. It's a visual and psychological break from the past.
Right.
And this strategy, I think it's applicable to anyone,
Okay.
not just monarchs.
Yeah.
If you're stepping into a role where there was a strong predecessor,
Right.
it can be helpful to make that break.
So how can our listener use this ground zero psychology?
Well, imagine you're starting a new job,
Okay.
maybe taking on a big new project.
Right.
Sometimes the best way to establish yourself and your vision
Yeah.
is to make a clean break from the past.
So shake things up a bit.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's shift gears a little bit
Yeah.
because our sources also talk about some more subtle but equally potent power tactics.
Like what?
And one that I found particularly interesting is mirroring.
Oh, yeah. There's some amazing examples of that.
The mirror effects.
This is where things get a little creepy.
Yeah. A little unsettling.
Right.
It's like when you look in the mirror
Uh-huh.
and you really see yourself
Mm-hmm.
objectively.
Like a stranger almost.
Yeah,
It can be disarming.
it is
But-
a little unsettling. If you catch your reflection and it takes you a second.
Yeah.
Wait, that's me.
I know what you mean. And manipulators know this.
Oh, they use it.
They use it to their advantage.
Totally.
And there are some great examples in the sources.
Yeah, like where?
Well, there's that fable by Pilpay
Okay.
about the merchant who mirrors his friend's absurd
I
claims
remember that one.
to prove he's dishonest.
So clever.
Yeah, it's using someone's words against them.
Yeah.
And then there's Alcibiades,
Yeah.
you know, the charming and cunning figure. He would mirror people's desires to
Yeah.
gain favor.
Play on their vanity.
Yes.
Their insecurities.
Like he was creating a custom fantasy
He was.
for each person.
Exactly.
And speaking of custom fantasies,
Yeah.
there's Marie Mancini
Oh, yes.
and her strategic mirroring of Louis XIV.
She was smart.
She knew that the key to influencing the Sun King
Yeah.
was not to outshine him.
But to reflect his own brilliance back at him.
I love that.
So she elevated his self-image,
She did.
gained power.
And influence.
Yeah.
She became the living embodiment of his ideal,
Yes.
validating his every thought.
But our sources also show how this mirroring can be used.
For bad.
Yeah, for deception.
For sure.
Like Yellow Kid Weil.
Oh, yeah, the con artist.
Yeah.
Recreated entire banks.
It's like playing on our trust
Our expectation.
in the familiar,
Right.
that what we see is what we get.
And when that's violated,
Yeah.
we're vulnerable.
So vulnerable. It's like a magician's trick.
It is. It's an illusion.
It's distracting us from what's really happening.
The deceiver's mirror
Right.
preys on our desire for patterns
For consistency.
we want to believe.
Right. So while mirroring can be good for building rapport,
Yeah.
it can also be used to deceive.
You've got to be careful.
So how can we use this mirroring for good?
Oh, well, I think when it's used ethically,
Yeah.
mirroring can be really powerful for building connection.
Okay, give me an example.
So imagine meeting someone for the first time.
Okay.
You subtly mirror their body language, their
Okay.
tone of voice,
Uh-huh.
even their word choices.
Yeah.
And it creates this subconscious rapport.
Like, I see you.
Yeah,
I understand you.
exactly.
Without even saying it.
And it makes them feel comfortable
Right.
and more open to connecting with you.
So it's not about being a copycat.
No.
It's about harmony
Subtle harmony.
and understanding.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And this leads us to another important aspect of power dynamics
Okay.
that comes up in our sources,
Mm-hmm.
the interplay of envy and generosity.
Yeah, I was thinking about Joe Orton
Oh, yeah.
and Kenneth Halliwell.
That's a tough one.
It is. As Orton became more successful,
Yeah.
Halliwell was consumed by envy.
And it didn't end well.
No. It's a reminder that envy can be really destructive.
Absolutely. Both for individuals
Yeah.
and for relationships.
It's like it eats away at you
It does.
from the inside.
Yeah. And the sources really emphasize that flaunting success,
Oh, yeah.
it often backfires.
It does.
Stirs up resentment.
Creates enemies.
So it's about achieving success
Yeah.
without threatening others.
Right.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. But our sources contrast this
Oh, really?
with the idea of strategic generosity.
Ah, yes.
Like Louis XIV,
Yep.
who was known to be very generous.
He was.
Even to the lowest members of his staff.
He was smart.
Yeah, he was building support
Creating a web of obligation.
and loyalty.
Yeah. Making everyone feel connected to them.
And then there's Casanova.
Oh, yeah.
All that lavish spending.
Not just showing off.
No, it was strategic,
It's
enhancing seduction,
creating obligation.
disarming rivals.
Money has psychological power.
It does. It can buy loyalty,
Distract from power moves.
smooth over conflict.
Even small acts of generosity
Yeah.
can have a big impact.
It's about using your resources wisely,
To build alliances.
cultivate goodwill.
Absolutely.
Power isn't always about taking.
Right.
Sometimes it's about giving.
Strategically.
But let's talk about the bolder side of power,
Oh.
because the sources also emphasize taking action.
Yeah.
Bold action.
Boldness.
Like that quote from the 48 Laws of Power.
Which one?
Timidity is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Better to enter with boldness.
I love that quote. Seems counterintuitive, though.
It does, because we're always told to be cautious.
To think things through.
But
A
sometimes
bold move.
is the best way.
It can be. It creates an aura of confidence,
Yeah.
authority,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a performance.
Right. And even if you make a mistake,
You can correct it with more boldness.
yeah, it's like doubling down on a
Yes.
risky bet,
And somehow
coming out ahead.
And there are tons of examples of this in history.
Oh, yeah, give me one.
Like Julius Caesar
Okay.
crossing the Rubicon.
What a move.
That was bold,
It was defiance of the Senate.
and it made him dictator.
It did. It's like they bend reality to their will.
Yeah. Just by acting as if they have the power.
Perception often precedes reality.
It does. And linked to boldness
Yeah.
is another concept.
What's that?
Controlling the tempo, setting the pace,
Yeah.
keeping your opponents off balance.
Like Napoleon.
Oh, yeah.
He was a master of that.
He was always one step ahead.
Dictating the terms.
Napoleon understood that the person who controls the tempo
Yeah.
controls the narrative.
So even in our everyday lives,
Yes.
we should vary our rhythms.
Change speeds.
Avoid being predictable.
Be adaptable.
Right.
Know when to strike.
When to be patient.
When to yield.
When to push forward.
It's like martial arts.
It is.
Mhm.
Knowing when to strike with force.
And when to yield.
Using your opponent's energy against them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that classic move where you retreat, you draw your opponent in,
Yeah.
and then bam,
When their guard is down,
you strike.
that actually work.
It totally does. Think about negotiations.
Okay.
Sometimes you strategically yield ground.
Yeah.
You appear to give something up,
Okay.
but it puts you in a stronger position.
To get what you really want.
Exactly. You're playing the long game.
Right. Not getting caught up in the short term.
It's about the big picture.
Like setting a trap.
Exactly. And this leads us to another important point from the sources.
Okay.
The danger of isolation.
Oh, yeah.
Becoming too comfortable in your position.
Like Marie Antoinette.
Oh, the classic example.
She was so isolated.
In her world of privilege.
So out of touch.
When the revolution came,
She was totally unprepared.
She and Louis XVI,
Yeah.
they lost sight of the bigger picture.
Got too comfortable.
In their rituals,
Their hierarchies.
they failed to adapt.
And it happens all the time.
It does,
Yeah.
even on a smaller scale.
Like someone who's been in the same job for too long.
Surrounded by yes men.
Yeah.
They stop seeing the challenges
Sure,
and they
well-
become irrelevant.
It's like Louis XVI and Charles III of England.
Both lost their thrones.
Trying to cling to the past.
Resisting change.
Didn't work.
Never does. Trying to hold on to power by force.
It was backfired.
It does. But the sources contrast this
Okay.
with the adaptability of figures like Napoleon
Okay.
and Joseph Fouché,
Oh, wow, Fouché.
the master survivor.
He stayed in power no matter who was in charge.
He did kinematics,
Shifting allegiances.
adapting his strategies.
Navigating that chaos.
How did he do it?
He was a chameleon.
Okay.
Blending in.
Yeah.
Anticipating change.
Positioning himself perfectly.
He knew that survival requires compromise.
Sometimes even betraying old allies.
It seems that way.
But he thrived.
He did.
One of the few.
It's a reminder that adaptability is key.
It is. Even if it means letting go of old beliefs.
Admitting mistakes.
Changing course.
Things that most people in power see as weaknesses.
But they can be the most strategic path.
Like Fouché showed us.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this brings us to a final crucial element.
Okay.
Storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Shaping the narrative.
It's not just about force.
Or even strategy.
It's about controlling the story.
Crafting a narrative that resonates.
That connects with people's emotions.
Their aspirations.
It's true on a large scale.
And in our personal lives.
Think about the examples we've talked about.
Yeah.
Alexander cutting the Gordian knot.
Such a powerful image.
Louis XIV building Versailles.
More than just actions.
They were symbols.
Selling a story.
And the con artists.
Oh, yeah.
Like Yellow Kid Whale.
And Count Lustig.
They were master storytellers.
They were creating illusions.
Playing on people's desires. Weaving a narrative.
Leading them into a trap.
And even figures like Mao Zedong.
Using historical narratives.
Cultural myths.
To justify their actions.
It's amazing how they all understood the power of storytelling.
To shape perceptions.
To influence people.
And it raises an important question for you, listener.
Yeah.
What's your story?
Mm.
How are you shaping the narrative of your life?
Are you presenting yourself in a way that helps you achieve your goals?
Are you maybe holding yourself back?
It's like we're all playing a role.
On the stage of life.
And the story we tell.
Shapes how we interact with the world.
So it's about being aware.
Of the narrative we're projecting.
Both consciously.
And unconsciously.
Because whether we realize it or not.
We are all storytellers.
And the more aware we are of that.
The better we can use it.
To our advantage.
To enhance our own personal power.
Wow. This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has been.
We've covered so much.
From Alexander the Great.
To Marie Antoinette.
Con artists.
Philosophers.
It's amazing how they all offer insights into power.
Timeless insights.
Yeah, and what's really cool
Yeah.
is that these insights apply to our lives too.
Regardless of our position.
Our aspirations.
So let's recap some key takeaways.
Okay.
I think first and foremost
Yeah.
is the power of perception.
Perception.
It's not always about brute force.
Right.
It's about projecting an image.
Of authority.
Confidence.
Control.
We talked about the strategic use of symbolism.
Symbolism.
From Alexander and the Gordian knot to Louis XIV and Versailles.
Powerful figures understand that.
Actions speak louder than words.
Especially when they're symbolic.
We also explored the art of mirroring.
Mirroring.
Building rapport.
Sometimes to deceive.
A powerful tool.
For good or for ill.
And then the dangers of envy.
Envy.
And the importance of strategic generosity.
Generosity.
True power isn't about hoarding resources or flaunting your success. It's about understanding the power of giving.
Of creating alliances.
Fostering goodwill.
And then we talked about boldness.
Boldness.
And controlling the tempo.
Knowing when to strike.
When to be patient.
When to yield.
These are all crucial skills in navigating the dynamics of power.
But perhaps the most important takeaway is that we are all storytellers.
We are.
The stories we create.
About ourselves.
And the world around us.
They shape our perception.
Our beliefs.
Our actions.
So listener.
As you go about your life, remember to pay attention to the stories you're telling.
Are they empowering you?
Are they serving your goals?
Or are they holding you back?
Because the power to shape your destiny
lies in the power to shape your narrative.
Wow. Well said.
That about wraps it up for our deep dive.
It does.
Thank you, listener, for joining us on this exploration of power.
We hope you found it insightful.
And maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Until next time.
Happy pondering.